welcome everybody. Welcome back to Potholes to Paved Roads. I'm Jonathan Overstreet. I am your lovely host. So, I just want to take a second and say a couple things. Number one, I'm sick of rain. I was just listening to the radio a few minutes ago. Now this is something that some people probably don't even pay attention to if they're not working outside. But for crying out loud, I've had my head in the sand lately so bad when it comes to like news in general. I had to kind of step away a little bit because it was starting to get depressing. But if I hear one more weatherman say, rain in the forecast for tomorrow, I'm going to pull my hair out. The little bit of hair I got left. I mean, come on. 4 straight days of rain, and finally we get one day with no rain, and then they're calling for rain again tomorrow. I mean, come on. Can't we catch a break? All right, that's number one, which some people probably, it's not going to matter anything to them, but I mean, I'm a mailman. I don't even carry mail on Sundays. Today's Saturday, and here I am complaining about the rain for tomorrow. Anyway, so number 2 thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to all my friends and family that's been reaching out and giving me feedback on the podcast. You guys, I completely cherish everything you guys say. It's really deeply appreciated. I love all the positive feedback. I love all the constructive criticism, ways I can improve on doing this. And it's been great, guys. And I just want to say thank you. And the third thing I want to talk about for just a second, because this is something that I wasn't even planning on talking about this. But guys, I'm telling you, I'm out delivering pizza, right? I go up to the door. I knock on the door to deliver a pizza. Guy comes to the door, and the first thing he does is hold his arms up. Well, actually, he holds his arms up because he don't have a choice but to hold his arms up. Both his arms are in cast. And I was like, whoa. And he goes, yeah, I fell off a ladder, broke both arms. Guys, you know what? Knock on wood. I wish there was some wood in this vehicle to knock on, but knock on wood, I've never broke a bone. But this guy broke both arms. And I'm telling you, I'll say this from a Pastor Robert. This goes out to you, man. If you're listening, Pastor Robert Miller, if he taught me one thing, it was like his mantra, in my opinion, about the time that I served with him. And eventually one day I'll talk about how I served with him. And actually I'll talk about it probably a little bit later in this episode. But here's the deal, guys. He taught me this. This is his mantra. This is just very important to him, and he taught all his people this, and it's very, very good wisdom. Guys, perspective is king. Perspective is everything. A lot of times it's not how you say something, a lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say what you say, and how that person perceives it. Perception, perspective, it's everything, guys. And the reason I'm saying that is because, dude, for anybody out there who thinks they're having a bad day, at least both your arms aren't in a cast. I mean, this guy comes to the door, he says, hey, did so-and-so, I think either his son or his dad or his brother, I'm not sure who it was, ordered this pizza for him, and he looks at me and he says, did he leave a tip on the card? Because he used a credit card to pay for it. And I said, no, he didn't. And I almost felt guilty because the guy was going inside to get me money, and I don't even know how he reached down to grab it. All he grabbed was like $3 worth of quarters, which is great with me. I don't care. Anything's better than nothing. And I'm thinking, how in the world did he get these? He can't. Anyway, I heard him getting them, but I didn't really see him getting them. But he got me $3 in quarters. Guys, for anybody out there who's having a bad day, at least both your arms aren't in a cast. I mean, golly, give me a break. I felt so stinking bad for this guy. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. I've never broke a bone, like I said a while ago. I can't imagine breaking both arms, falling off a ladder. But anyway, guys, perception is everything. The way you see the world. And I've got the worst habit. I mean, the absolute worst habit of trying to equate what things that other people are going through with what I'm going through. And I almost always think that if they think about it or react to it any different than me, then there's something wrong with them. And guys, it's human nature. I think we all do that. But, I mean, come on. I mean, I can't help but get in this guy's shoes. Both his arms are in a cast. I mean, God, I can't imagine it. That would be just like, depending on how long it took to heal, I mean, that'd be life-changing. I wouldn't be able to go to work. I'd be at home. I mean, how could I deliver mail with no arms? But anyway, and all this was unplanned. I did not plan on talking about this at all, but I just felt it on my heart. And the point I guess I'm trying to make through this is, guys, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be going through the worst pain in the world. But I'm telling you, without a shadow of a doubt, there could definitely be somebody going through something worse than you. Now, for our topic of discussion today. Alright, so since I was a kid, I've always not necessarily been like just straight taught this from like my parents or my family or anybody else in particular, but just culturally from birth, it seems like culturally we're all taught to never quit. No matter how hard things get, never quit. So I'm kind of going to debunk that, at least for myself, for today, for the next few minutes. Because there's 3 major things in my life that I quit. And I can explain all 3. And I'm not going to talk to you for 3 hours, I promise. But check this out. Number one is probably the stupidest, the dumbest thing to quit. And please, let me preface this by saying, guys, I'm not saying don't go to school. That's not what I'm saying, but take a wild guess what the number one major thing that I quit was. Now, I'm going in like order of the things that happened. I'm not going in order of priority necessarily, or in order. This isn't a list of that. This is a list of the things I quit in the order that I quit them into. Number one was college. Guys, I graduated from that little small town in Louisiana I told you about with a 3.0, which really I think is only like a C average. That probably tells you how dumb I am with school, that I don't even know exactly what. I think a 3.0 is like a C average, I believe. So some people are probably laughing at me right now thinking this guy's an idiot. He doesn't even know what the grade point averages are. I know a 4.0 is like an A, but I think a 3.0 is a C. Anyway, so I graduated with a 3.0, which in Louisiana was good enough, and I had grades good enough, and I had, I guess, a ACT score that was decent enough to get me into any college in state in Louisiana. I think with the exception of any private college, I think it was only like universities, but I could get into any of those guys for 100% free. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think it would have covered like room and board, but the college I chose to go to was close enough to where I could live with my parents and go to college. So, I get through to the third semester, right? And man, something just started stirring on the inside of me. And I don't know, I started skipping school some. And to top things off, to make me look like even more of a fool, who has a full ride scholarship who doesn't have to cover room and board and stuff because I'm driving back and forth from home? Who has that and then is still dumb enough to take out student loans? This guy. If you could see, I got 2 fingers pointing at me. So, anyway, so that's also pretty foolish, but I was still taking out student loans. That's a story for a different day. But here I am. I'm in college. It's the third semester. I'm getting annoyed because I was like, you know what? This really sucks. I hate school. I never really liked school. I had really good grades the first several years of high school, and then I started clowning around at the end, and I still graduated with a C average. So, but as far as all that goes, I'm in my third semester. I'm getting really like stir crazy. Like, this school and stuff is not for me. And I asked my English teacher one day, I said, gosh, let me ask you something. Like, if I stay and do my whole, like, 4 years, which, on top of all that, I had no idea what degree I was going to get. I was kind of thinking business, but I didn't really know for sure. So, but I asked my English teacher, I said, hey, how many papers do you think I'll write in the course of a 4-year degree? And she said, honey, you're going to be writing tons and tons of papers. And I was like, adios, I'm out. So it was at that point I really started kind of skipping school, a little bit here, a little bit there. I'd skip a class, and I was like, man, this skipping school stuff feels good, because I really didn't do that in high school. And so I started really enjoying skipping school. And but the thing is, I wouldn't just skip school and sit home. I actually was doing something. I was working. I was working for a Burger King, actually, which that part kind of makes me sound weird too, that I give up college to work at Burger King. So I guess that tells you a little bit about me. But I'm working at Burger King. I drop out of college with a freaking full ride scholarship. Who does this? And I was just not happy at all, and not content at all. I felt like I was in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. I didn't have hardly any friends, because, guys, I've never been a drinker or smoker, partier. That's just not me. Believe it or not, sometimes when I get in crowds of people that I don't know, I'm a bit of an introvert. But once I kind of get to know people a little bit, I open up. But so it just wasn't for me. So that was the first thing I quit, is college. I quit college to work. But it did turn out I ended up becoming a store manager for Burger King. Still didn't make very much money. Anybody who's ever been a store manager for them knows they don't pay. I was in a humongous franchise, but they still didn't pay very well. So that was the first thing I quit, was college. Number 2 thing I quit. Back in 2007, I got a job at a place called Quick Trip. All right, so let me explain just a little bit about Quick Trip. Quick Trip is a convenience store, and I know what you're thinking. Oh my goodness, awesome. This guy goes from working at a fast food restaurant to a convenience store. Wow, he's really moving up the ladder. But guys, people that don't live here, you don't know anything about what Quick Trip is about. Dude, I never made more money than I did at Quick Trip. They paid good per hour, and they paid bonuses every month, baby. I'm talking, it was nice. My first bonus from one of the truck stops that I was one of the assistant managers at, my first bonus from there was $2,500. I mean, that's on top of my regular hourly paychecks. I mean, I never had a job making money like that. But anyway, I ended up doing that for about 6 years, and I did end up quitting. But here's why I quit. I quit because I ended up having a store manager that I could not seem to get along with. I got promoted very quickly when I first got the job, but it seemed like I got promoted once, and then I got a somewhat better schedule than what I had. But I was gonna end up having to work every weekend for the rest of my life, and guys, I didn't want to do that. So I'll tell you more about that in a second. All right, I'm back in action. Okay, so we were talking about Quick Trip. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to explain just for a second about Quick Trip is that Quick Trip, I don't think I made it real clear, because look, I'm not trying to say this to like bolster my pride or make it look bigger and badder than it was or anything like that. But dude, if you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you know what Quick Trip is. Dude, Quick Trip is a very, very, very well-ran company. They do everything debt-free. They move at the speed of cash, which means, dude, when a company has no debt, you know what they have? They have money. and they also have more money to give to their employees and take care of them. So that's what this job was like. They really, don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing Quick Trip. Quick Trip was a great place to work. And let me also say that the reason I didn't get along with that store manager, because if that store manager, which I'm not going to name his name, but if he ever listens to this, I want him to know that what I'm saying is that the reason I didn't get along with that store manager was really a problem with me. It wasn't with him, it was me. And it was me versus the company. Because, guys, I'm telling you, the company had a policy that just absolutely, well, I'm not going to go into it specifically, but it was a certain policy that drove me absolutely nuts. And I had so much trouble following this policy. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't this was not a spiritual thing, this was not a moral thing necessarily, but it's just something the company wanted us to do that bothered me very, very badly. And I could not stand it. So it was nothing against that store manager. This was something to do with me, guys. And I'm stepping up to the bat, man, and I'm telling you, it was me. I'm letting you know straight up, it was me. It was not him. So, but why did I quit Quick Trip? Why did I leave Quick Trip? Why would you leave a job where you're making more money than you've ever made in your entire life? Why would you do that? And I'll tell you why I did that. I got discontented. And the reason I got discontented was, like I said a little bit about, was with my schedule. So I was working, don't get me wrong, I was working 5 days straight, which is great. You get 2 days off in a row. But I was working 2 mornings and 3 evenings. And I didn't want to be stuck on evenings, doing those evenings for the rest of my life, because it didn't seem like I was going anywhere getting promoted. And that, I got to say, that was also kind of a me thing. And nothing against the company. It was more me than it was the company. Because I learned something very valuable through Quick Trip. Leadership is not for everybody. And now I can already hear it in the back of my mind. I can hear my wife saying, "You are a great leader with Quick Trip." Well, she's a little biased because she's my wife. But leadership is not for everybody, guys. And I stepped up and I ended up being a leader there for about 5 years, or somewhere around that long. And I just started seeing things in me I didn't like, and I didn't like my leadership style. I wasn't I've worked for a lot of different people, right? And through the course of the years, because I've had several jobs, several different types of work, and I didn't like the leader that I was. I was one of those guys that I hardly ever told you what to do. It was like the blind leading the blind, man. I don't like confrontation. I don't like disciplining people. I don't like getting on to somebody. I don't know how to put it. It's really, I've got so many thoughts I want to put out on this, but I don't think we got 3 hours to talk about it. So I'll just leave it at that. I started learning in myself that I wasn't a great leader, at least not in this capacity. So when I walked away from Quick Trip, though, I didn't just quit willy-nilly, just put in my 2 weeks and walk out the door with nothing to go to. I got a job with the Postal Service. So my store manager at that store came to me one day and said, "Hey, I've been noticing every time the postman comes in, you talk to him for several minutes. And I was just wondering, are you thinking about leaving Quick Trip?" And I said, "Yeah, actually I am. I've went ahead and fessed up, and this is a character thing here, guys. I could have just lied, and maybe it wasn't the greatest of times to tell him, but I told him, I said, because the Postal Service works a little bit slower than most other entities, I guess because it's considered like a government job. So I had 6 weeks before I was going to start. So that's kind of how it was going to work. It was going to be 6 weeks. I told the store manager that, told him it was going to be 6 weeks, and as soon as he left that day, so I started out with something with good for my character, showing good things about me, and telling him that in 6 weeks I was starting there, but then I turned right around and did something that maybe wasn't the greatest of character. dude, I put in for every single bit of vacation I had, and I was off. In that 6 weeks, I only worked, I think, 3 days. So I took all my vacation. I could have cashed it out, but I didn't. I just took all that vacation. And the more I look back, the more I think that I just want to kick myself in the butt that I didn't jump on the job at the Postal Service when I first moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I moved here in 2005. Technically, I lived in Bixby when I first moved here with my parents, just for a little while me and my wife kind of got some roots planted here in, to get into Tulsa and, find a place to live and all that stuff. But I look back now and I kind of kick myself for not jumping on the job at the Postal Service when I first got here, because I thought, I don't know, I'm like a lot of people who have been too afraid to even try to get the job because you got to take this test. And I was like, I hate taking tests. You remember the whole college thing? Goodness. But anyway, but when I did quit, I like some of the terminology that, like, Dave Ramsey uses on his show, especially Ken Coleman. I love listening to Ken Coleman. And one of the things he says on the show is, when it comes to jobs, you don't want to jump out and do your own thing, or jump into that next, or to jump out of a job and basically quit and have nowhere to go. What you want to do is, you don't want to step off the dock until you've got that next boat pulled up and you're ready to get into that next boat. And for me, the next boat was the Postal Service. And I'm telling you, I was only with the Postal Service about 6 months. They came to me one time. They came to me, and I say they came to me like it was something big. It was just somebody mentioned one day, said, hey, you'd be a good, what's called a 204B, which is basically like a, not quite a supervisor, but if you're wanting to be a supervisor, that's where you start out. And I was like, whoa, no. No way. I came to the Postal Service for 2 reasons. Number one, I didn't want to work Sundays anymore. I just wanted to be able to be off on weekends, which I don't know if I mentioned that with Quick Trip, but I was working every single weekend. And I didn't want to work every weekend in the evening time. And so that was part of the reason I wanted to come to the Postal Service. And the second reason was I didn't want to have to lead anybody. I just wanted to work by myself for somebody. I didn't want to have to lead. I didn't want to have to be over people, in other words. And so that was part of one of the perks of wanting to come there. I just wanted to work for myself, and I also have always loved working outside. So I knew that would make a huge difference, because Quick Trip, you're inside most of the time. So the moral of that is that I didn't just quit. I had somewhere else to go. I had something else to do. Now, I will say this. I've had to work for the Postal Service about 4 years or so before I actually made the money that I was making when I left Quick Trip. So it took me about 4 years here, a year as a CCA, and then 3 years as a regular now. But now I've been a regular for about 6 years in August. So I didn't immediately, in other words, I took a little bit of a pay cut, but I'm telling you, the stress level is so much different, and I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy getting to interact with people, and I get to see the same people every day, and it's a great job overall. And it fits my personality quite a bit better than Quick Trip did. And one of the other things I need to mention before I move off of this topic of talking about Quick Trip is that, now, since I was a teenager, I started learning that I'm lactose intolerant. I've always been able to eat cheese for the most part, but I cannot drink straight milk. Even some of the milk substitute stuff used to mess me up. And while I was working at Quick Trip, 2 things happened. I started losing all my freaking hair. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for my wife. She married this stud with a nice full head of hair, and now I'm having to buzz all my hair off now because I'm pretty much bald. It's, oh gosh, it's embarrassing. But so, and the second thing it did was my symptoms that I had started flaring up so bad that I was starting to miss work a lot, guys, and I was getting sick a lot. And I knew some things had to change. And going to the Postal Service, it was a world of difference. And some of my symptoms got better for the most part, and some didn't. But overall, it made a difference. All right, folks, we're going to call that good for today. This is a 2-part little mini-series about the 3 major things that I've quit in my life. I've talked about 2 of them, and we're going to talk about the 3rd one on the next episode. But I'll go ahead and say that the 3rd one has been the most difficult thing in my life I've ever walked away from. And by the end of that episode, I'll let you guys know exactly why I'm telling you all this. And believe it or not, just because I'm attention deficit doesn't mean there's not a point to it, guys. So anyway, but hey, this is Potholes to Pave Roads. I'm Jonathan Overstreet. Thank you for listening.